Hi, I'm Brian from iWire, and we're here to show you how to install our brand new iVSS Vehicle Speed Sensor Replicator module. In the kit, you'll get our iVSS control module, 2 screws to hold the control module to your glove box, a hex wrench, a harness to connect to the old vehicle speed sensor harness, to the wheel speed sensor, and then a wheel speed sensor jumper harness. So the reason that you might need this iVSS is because you have an older car that uses a 3-wire vehicle speed sensor. The cars that would include would be 99 to 07 Impreza, that includes WRX and STI, 04 to 08 Forester XT, 03 to 06 Baja, that includes the turbo models as well. If you have a newer transmission installed in an older car, you may not have the vehicle speed sensor built into the transmission any longer. In this case, we need to replicate that using our control box. The other reason that you might need this is if you have a broken speed sensor in your transmission, and a lot of times it's actually easier to just replicate the sensor than it is to fix the problem in the transmission. To install this, you only need basic hand tools, a screwdriver, a 10mm socket and wrench, 12mm socket and wrench if you're going to remove the intercooler, a flathead to remove a couple of trim pieces on the interior, but that's it. A quick rundown of the install. First, you're going to take out the intercooler, if you have one, the washer reservoir inside the engine bay, the glove box, and then the small trim panel underneath the steering column. And then we're going to run the wires from the engine bay into the cabin, across to the driver's side, and then we'll plug in the unit into the glove box once we mount the unit to the glove box. And then we'll put it all back together and show you how to use the app. So for this install, we're going to use a 2005 WRX because it's pretty similar to all the other cars of this era. If you happen to have a GC or a Baja or a Forester, the install will be very similar, although there'll be small differences. For the non-CAN bus equipped cars, there's going to be a speed sensor built into the transmission. It's driven by a gear inside. For the newer model cars, the CAN bus equipped cars, there's going to be a cap in this location because vehicle speed comes via the ABS unit and CAN bus. So in the engine bay, all we're going to have to do is take out the intercooler and the windshield washer reservoir. This car has the intercooler out because we were testing to make sure that the vehicle speed sensor gear was actually the problem. It turns out it was, which is why we're going to install this part on this car. So to remove the intercooler, you take out the bolt here, loosen the hose clamp there. There's a hose clamp at the bottom for the turbo, 2 for the recirculating valve, and then 2 for the bracket. So now we're going to take the windshield washer reservoir out. Yeah, these are 2 10mm bolts. And then we're just gonna take it out. We're not gonna actually pull it all the way out. We just need enough room to work. So the reason that we took it out is to get access to the wheel speed sensors from the hub. In this case, most of these cars that were 5-speed to 6-speed swap will have this extension harness. We're gonna remove it because we're gonna plug directly into the plug off the harness later. And that's the old vehicle speed sensor connector that no longer is used on the transmission. So now we move from the engine bay into the cabin. We're gonna take out the glove box first, and we're gonna start with the bolt on the outside here. As you go, really important just to take a couple pictures so you know how it goes back together. We're also gonna show you and keep track of your bolts. Most interior bolts are the same, but there are a few differences. So make sure you keep them bagged together. So I'm gonna do this one down here. Don't forget about the glove box light, and it's ready to come out. Next, we're gonna take out this trim panel. It's so that we can run the wires across to the other side really simply. Now that we have the glove box out on the passenger side, we're gonna move over to the driver's side to take out the lower trim panel. Do it blind. Who needs eyeballs when you got fingers? And then we're gonna wanna remove any of the connectors so we can get this interior component all the way out. There's a screw that holds this gray connector, it's called the data link connector, in place on the back side. And then the OBD2 connector has little detent push tab kind of things on it. If you just push them in, they'll come out the back. And then we can remove this panel. So next we're gonna take out this metal under bracing. It's so that we can get this trim panel out to the right. It's sandwiched in place, but it's only 2 bolts. Next step will be take this trim panel out so we can get the harness from the passenger side over to the driver's side. And there's just 1 screw over here. Now that we've got the interior trim panels out, we're ready to go into the engine bay to connect the harnesses inside the engine bay and then run them into the cabin. Now that we're back in the engine bay, take a quick look at what you have on your harness. So this connector is the main connector that will plug into the iVSS control module. This connector will either come in this 4-pin for turbo models and a 3-pin flat for STI models and non-turbo models. And this goes where the plug used to go into the transmission for the vehicle speed sensor. And then this connector will plug into one of our adapters for the wheel speed sensor. Magical adapters right here. Thank you, unknown assistant. The gray is going to be for Impreza models, and then brown will tend to be found on the Baja Forester models as well, and some of the Outtakes. So now that we're in the engine bay on the driver's side, we're going to jump in between the wheel speed connectors. This is how the VSS control module is going to get input for the wheel speed to convert to the speedometer. So we're going to unplug this. And this connector will plug into the harness once we run it over. We've removed the extension harness, so now we're going to plug our new connector right into the original connector for vehicle speed. This is going to give us power, ground, and signal. We're going to route the connector approximately where it's going to go along the firewall, but we're not going to lock anything down until we're all done. The next step is to connect the 2-pin connector to the wheel speed sensor from the hubs. We're going to take our main connector, and there's a grommet underneath the brake booster on most GD models of this era and GCs for that matter. And it's underneath there, so we'll feed it on the inside. It's going to be tough to show you guys that one. We're going to take the factory grommet, put a little extra hole in it because our hardwire kit is already installed. So if you have any question about that, please take a look at our hardwire kit. But other than that, we're just gonna put the grommet back in to seal it up. Anytime you run a cable inside the cabin like this, you wanna run it over the steering column. That way it keeps it from falling on your feet and getting stuck behind a brake or a clutch pedal or throttle pedal. So we're gonna go up and over. And then we're gonna set it up to come across, which is over here. Now that we're back on the passenger side, we're just gonna feed the cable across and get it ready to connect up to the iVSS control module in the glove box. Now that we have the glove box out, we can now mount our iVSS control module. But the first thing we need to do is open up the glove box just a little bit further. There are 2 little tabs on the side here. Be careful with them, you don't want to break them. There we go. And now it's fully open. For mounting the iVSS, you have 2 different cases. One without DCCD, so WRXs, Imprezas, things like that, and one with DCCD. That's what this control box is for. There's not enough room on the DCCD cars to mount it here because it will hit the cabin filter that goes through the blower motor for the AC system. So on an STI, we would either recommend that you double-sided tape here, we'll include some there, or you can unmount this lid, drill 2 holes, use the provided screws from the back side to the front side, mount it directly, either will work. For this video though, we're gonna show you the WRX model, and we're gonna mount it where the DC-CD box would go on the DC-CD models, which is basically right here. So we'll put a piece of tape over here, pretty much anywhere to the right side of the D and LHD, left-hand drive, will be fine, but we're gonna work it more this way. When you see the glove box in the car, you'll see why there's no space basically from here that way. It helps to put a little piece of tape on the back side so it stays where it's gonna go. And we're gonna line this up the best we can. I would use these 2 grooves as your alignment point, and then center these bolts in this space. And then we'll take the drill bit, and we're just gonna mark the back side so we know where to drill the holes. Take that off, double check those holes look about right, and then we're gonna drill our holes. This is a 1/8 drill bit. Make sure it is a 1/8 drill bit. Any larger, the small screws may slip through. So a 1/8 drill bit is the size you want. Take the tape off and then mount the unit there. I'm gonna come with the screws from the back side and thread them through the holes into the unit. Now I'll flip it around and tighten it with our handy dandy hex wrench. We included this because we realized we didn't have it, so you probably didn't either, so you're welcome. And these will be just snug because you're just tying it to the plastic of the glove box. Now that we have the glove box back in the car and the unit mounted, we'll plug it in and do a quick test.
Once the unit is powered on with key on power in your car, you can download the iWire app from your phone's app store. Once downloaded, you will register your controller by filling out your name, email, and setting a password. Now that you've registered your account, go ahead and log in to see the iWire features. Select iVSS. Once your iVSS ID is displayed, select it. Your phone will then have a pairing option. Hit cancel. You will then confirm your iVSS is mounted inside the cabin since the engine bay is too hot for the controller. On this next screen, you'll go ahead and set your 6-digit device lock code. This code protects others from pairing to your iVSS unit. You've now reached the main menu for your iVSS. Hit the Calibration tab. This will take you to a new screen to select the year and model car that matches your chassis. You'll also select which speed output you're looking for, in our case, miles per hour. Once you see this screen, it's time to grab a friend or family member and have them help you safely calibrate the unit. Keep in mind, you'll be using the plus and minus signs on the phone to change the speedometer reading. You want to raise or lower the speedometer reading to match the GPS output on the iWire app. When you're ready, you'll hit continue and go for a test drive.
So we'll put this trim piece back in. There we go. We'll get this harness finalized once the glove box is in. Most important, don't forget the glove box light. Last step will be just to take the harness and tuck it away, and I'll zip tie it up and out of there. Everything looks good, so we're gonna do the final cleanup. We're just gonna do a quick overview, just a reminder. But first thing I did was zip tie the harness up to the steering column and around the side to tuck it away from anything that might pinch it. Same thing in the engine bay as in the cabin. Stay away from things that are hot and sharp, otherwise you should be good to go. And then we'll put in the final interior parts. This trim piece, then our metal bracket with the two 10mm bolts. Well, first off, thanks Tony for the tip. We'll take that. Buy the guys lunch with it. I'm gonna put the data link connector in at the very end. So plug in our switches. Something to note on the interior is it doesn't come out or go in easily. Take your time, try again. Don't break it. So we're making sure that the main VSS connector is tight. We wrap the harness up and along the ABS lines, keep it away from the heat of the downpipe, and then come across and then down below the brake booster. The other thing we're going to be careful of is the steering knuckle, because that spins. We don't want that to catch on it, and then it'll go underneath the booster. So we added an extra zip tie down by the brake lines at the bottom just to keep it away from the ABS line, and tucked it behind the booster. But as long as you have it away from sharp and hot things, we'll be fine. And then we'll double check our ABS connectors are all tight and seated. They look good, and then those harnesses will go straight underneath the brake booster and into the cabin. And the last step is just going to reassemble the engine bay enough that we can put together for the test drive. So I'll put the washer reservoir back, we'll put the intercooler on, and we'll take it for a ride. Now the intercooler is back on, we're ready to drive the car. Grab your buddy, fire up the app, and let's calibrate this thing. Now that we're back in the car, we're gonna calibrate the GPS speed on your phone to the speedometer on the cluster. We're gonna do that with the help of a friend, in this case, wife, for safety. The reason is that she's gonna call out the numbers while I drive and look at the speedometer. You'll see that there are plus and minus signs, and those are going to change the output on the cluster, because what you see on the phone is GPS speed. Also remember that GPS takes a little bit of time to catch up, so you wanna hold the speed as best you can before you make a calibration change. And with that, we'll go do 20 miles an hour. We're gonna go through our first speed check, and this will be at 20 miles an hour. We're gonna do one at 20, 40, and 60. And the reason for that is that the wheel speed is not linear. It's actually got a slight curve to it. So as we go through these different calibration tests, we're gonna make sure that the speedometer is really accurate as a byproduct. So here we go on 20 miles an hour.
20.
All right, so I've got
21.
20, about 25. So I'm gonna have Whitney go down on the calibration tool a couple miles an hour.
We're at 21 on the GPS.
3 more.
2, 3. We're at 23 on the GPS.
That's pretty close.
24.
I'm gonna, yeah.
25.
One more down.
We're at 26, 23. 23.
Perfect. And if we get within 2 or 3 miles an hour, and we don't have to be exactly at 20 either, we're just going to use this as an approximation, approximately 20 miles an hour. But if we want to get really accurate, we'll drop it down to 20.
20, 23, 22, 21, 19, 15, 19, 20, 20, 21.
And remember that the GPS is going to be slightly laggy, so you've got to get the GPS a second to catch up. But this looks pretty good, so we'll move on to the 40 miles an hour.
All right, so we're at 17, 19, 22, 28, 32, 34, 38, 40, 40.
Perfect.
No plus or minus, we're good?
No, this is spot on, so we'll move on to 60 miles an hour.
Perfect.
We're on the highway now, so now we're going to test 60 miles an hour, work our way up, and double check that our GPS matches our speedo.
We're at 58, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64.
Great, that looks pretty spot on. We don't have to do any more adjustments, so we'll move on to the next step. All right, now that we have the tests all run for the 20, 40, and 60 miles an hour, we're gonna just run through and just see if the GPS matches as we drive around, varying our speeds a bit.
33, 30, 27, 23, 19, 14, 11, 9, 6, 0. 20, 22, 26, 32, 37, 38, 47.
All of that looks pretty good, so we'll hit setup complete. And that's all there is to it. You're ready to go. So if you have a kilometers per hour cluster in your miles per hour car, then you can select the kph to mph conversion on the app, and it will automatically output the speed in miles per hour instead of kilometers. And we'll show you how that works. We've already done the calibration on this car, so we're just confirming that everything is matching up the way we want it to.
32, 34, 36, 39, 40, 39, 41, 42, 45, 47, 50, 53, sorry, 59, holding 59, 60, 59.
Perfect, everything is working as it should. I hope you guys enjoyed that install. I really hope that you guys are enjoying playing with the VSS and the app. If you have any questions, please let us know. Shoot us an email, give us a call. And if you have anything else Subaru related and electronics, please check out www.iWireUSA.com.
Get your shit together.
Say the line right, gosh.
Like, I can't work like this.
I'm calling my agent.
Yeah.
Wait, 1. Oh, we're doing 3 claps, or are we doing 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3. It's beautiful. That won't be confusing at all. What's that movie? The Jerk? That's me. Anyways, all right. Yeah, great movie. Thomas will appreciate that. Here we go. Gotta get started. Gotta get in. All right. Yeah.
There you go.
Here we go. Let me start over. That doesn't make any sense. I was trying to be cute.
You're always cute.
Oh, see, I should have said that.
Ow. How good do I look under here?
Great.
Phew! Oh, God. I'm too old for this.